Position at risk from the reigning African champions Santvan Singh and Surinder Tati, who are continuing in their steady way, not putting themselves or their Group N Subaru at risk and waiting for others to make the mistakes. But further up the field, drama struck when Van der Walt and Harding lost a lot of time.
We had a misfire which turned out to be a fuel starvation problem. We fixed the fuel injectors, took lateness doing that. We fell back to within a minute and a half of Pekin, and then we had a rear axle problem, so we took more lateness, and we ended up going into the holding area another 3 minutes late, so we were 28 minutes down on Pekin. We dropped back to 5th place.
Krobler and McGregor were forced to complete the stage with a flat tyre, which caused damage to the front suspension and the steering rack. Hurried repairs were necessary, which cost them even more time. But the veterans of the rally world still remained positive.
Well, it's still tight, you know, the saying goes, life's a journey, enjoy the ride. Well, I tell you, we're enjoying the ride. We've still got a bit to go. There's about a regional distance, and we're still competitive. I think we're going to just go flat out now and see if we can get to the finish wrap and perhaps reel in the class. We'll be happy to finish, I can tell you.
Past the Bunya wood mills, and with 5 stages still to go, anything was indeed still possible. Havoc and Judd continued to extend their lead, something quite unusual on the Stannic rally over the years, with finishing margins often measured in seconds rather than minutes. Damso and Bonafide soldiered on, still with steering and suspension problems in their Castrol Toyota Conquest, wondering whether they'd be able to keep Lawrence and Paisley at bay. In this stage, they lost 23 seconds to Havoc and 26 seconds to the team total pair. After all the hassles that they'd had to endure during the first half of the Stannic, Lawrence and Paisley felt they'd had a chance of catching the Castrol crew and went as hard as they could, winning the stage in the process. The pair were unaware of the problems encountered by Van der Walt and Harding, and were also making sure that their third position wasn't in danger from the Volkswagen crew. Dunair crew Hergen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz were now back up into 4th position overall and in a safe lead in Class A6. And if they could remain where they were to the end, it would ensure them the lead in the Class Championship. Van der Walt and Harding in the GNT Volkswagen Golf had decided that with all the problems they had to contend with, it was safer to ensure the Class A7 win. The rain clouds still gathering, but Havoc had other things to think about.
16 kilometers to go and it's all over.
Yeah, but I'm struggling to keep my concentration. It's very hard work, and we've made quite a few mistakes this morning, which I don't like, but the concentration is the problem at this stage.
With just 3 stages to go, the remaining teams were intent on just finishing, a great feat on its own. Skalkberger and Thilo van Vesterhagen was one of them. Team totals Craig Trott and Brian Duncan were holding down a steady 3rd place in A6. While Rocky Reiniger and Richard Herholtz were down in 15th position, but 2nd in Class A7. The only other foreign crew remaining in the Stannic were James White from Zimbabwe and Philip Archenal from the UK, who were in 14th place in their Toyota Conquest. Dolf Kutsia and Johan Barnard were lying 16th overall and 4th in Class A6 in their Toyota Conquest. Another Class A7 car was the Golf of Atti Klutter and Manny Stradum, who were 3rd in class and 17th overall. The ever-consistent Spotty Woodhead had already completed more than 20 Stannic rallies, and with Marius Swart it seemed like he had another one in the bag. Johan Fourie and Andrew Masters in their Nissan Sentra Coupe were in 19th position, while Bertie Gutser and Skalk van Heerten in their Ford Laser held on to 20th position. 21st were Visser Duplessis and Ben Kruger, with Gert van Rensburg and Theuns Verster bringing up the rear. The traditional final stage of the Stannic Rally of South Africa around the sports fields of the Esselwini Sun, where many a grand finale has been played out before. This year was different. Where the final order was decided on this stage last year, this year saw a dominating performance of mammoth proportions, with Havoc and Judd beating everyone else by more than 10 minutes in their Volkswagen Golf. Another fantastic drive came from Fecken and Lukowitz, who brought their Dunair Toyota home in 4th overall, winning Class A6 convincingly. The ever-consistent Van der Walt Harding combination once again won Class A7 in their GNT Golf, finishing 5th overall. And in another great performance, Reiniger and Houghton finished 7th overall in their Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Pulling out all the stops to eventually win Group N in their Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, Krobler and McGregor finished 8th overall. Diffie Moreira and Danny Duval brought their Goodwood auto-electrical Toyota Corolla home in 10th position, winning Class N2. Last year's Group N winners, Satvan Singh and Surinder Tati, drove consistently to finish 11th in their Subaru. Havoc and Judd's victory moved them up to 2nd position in the championship, with Damso and Bonafide retaining their lead. Becken and Lukowitz moved to the top of the Class A6 championship, while Krobler and McGregor jumped to 6th overall, still leading Group N. Of the original 42 starters, 22 finished the event, with Duplessis and Kruger and Van Rensburg and Verster bringing up the rear, just outside the top 20. It was a delighted Jan Havoc and Douglas Judd who mounted the winning ramp for the first time in their careers, with the triumphant Volkswagen Motorsport crew in enthusiastic attendance and the traditional brass band of the Esselweenie Sun providing the musical accompaniment.
Yeah, tough and hard, but the last day was very easy, and the team worked well, the car was well prepared, and we're very happy with the result.
Then came the celebrations, and the Volkswagen team didn't need a second invitation to shower the crew with the bubbly. The sweet taste of victory, shared by the appreciative crowd, is something to be savoured. Just as happy about their Group N victory were Hannes Krobler and Dave McGregor, and the fact that they could finish in the top 10 in such a grueling event is a good sign that the Group N field can only grow stronger. There was more champagne for Satvan Singh and Surinder Tati as winners of the 2nd round of the FIA African Continent Rally Championship, the reigning champions staking a strong claim to retain their title. With 6 entries in the final top 10, Toyota took the manufacturer's victory and extended their lead in the championship over Volkswagen, with Nissan still in.
He was one of my heroes. I've watched him in a Grand Prix car, and then I was very lucky to see him in Wales in '66 in a Lotus Cortina, and Graham Hill was in a Mini Cooper S. I thought he was absolutely fantastic then. Always a great hero. The fact that the guy could swap from a Formula One car into a Lotus Cortina, then go rallying, he was an absolute maestro.
I suppose I'm president of the Berwick District Motor Club, and I'm always there to help them if there's anything needed. But you know, I supplied the course car for Lees to drive, a very important car it is, 0 car going around, making sure all the marshals are in place and switched on, ready for the first competing cars. So yeah, I was very happy to do that, and very happy to give Louise a drive in a quick car.
And you'll be out watching how she's driving it, will you?
Yes, indeed I will, and I'm sure she'll drive it very well.
Now, 25 years ago, we both stood here. What memories have you got of that occasion?
I'm afraid not so good, Tony. My home event, and obviously would love to have won the Jim Clark Rally, but unfortunately Roger Clark and yourself beat me by 1 second.
1 second, can you believe it?
Well, no, I couldn't believe it, because I knew all the marshals. I thought at least somebody would have given me a second. But
So at the wheel of one of the Mitsubishi World Rally cars, 1990 World Champion Louise Aiken-Walker sets off ahead of the capacity 170 car entry. The runner-up on this event last year, Dom Buckley, hadn't driven a rally car since then. This was his first run in this borrowed Subaru Impreza. But despite his lack of recent practice, Buckley set fastest time on each of the first 3 stages and hit again in the 4th stage at Bordwell. Buckley's pace was incredible, half a minute up after 4 stages. He didn't ease up on the gas to Winchester. He had 5 fastest stage times in the first 5 stages. If anyone was going to challenge Buckley, it was John Price, the man who's won more asphalt rallies in Britain than anyone else. Price had got off to a slow start by his standards, 4th quickest on the first stage, 3rd quickest on the next, but 2nd fastest on the 3rd and here in Bothwell. Lying in 3rd place, 1 second behind Tony Davis, Price was all set to move up to the runner-up spot, but overshot a bend, dropping 5 seconds to the leaders.
3, 2, 1, go! 100!
Let's go in car now with Tony Davis on this first stage. And he's in a hurry. With Buckley on an event of his own, Tony Davis had taken the fight to Price.
Into narrow jump bridge, into long dive right, into caution hairpin left over forward, and hairpin right, into caution, stay out, turn round bail, hairpin left, and small jump, left, 150, to caution, kick, turn right over jump bridge, 200, to stay out, crest, and open wide left, 200,
Davis was 3 seconds quicker than Price in the first stage here at Langton and was intent on keeping up that pressure on the next 6-mile test at Winchester. Davis paid the price for his headlong pace in the 4th stage. An overshoot at a junction cost him 11 seconds. Davis was back in control here in the second run at Winchester, taking 5 seconds out of Price, losing the runner-up position in the next stage. The frenetic pace of this closed public road rally was mirrored all the way through the field. A mistake by Jimmy Patterson allowed Nigel Waswick in his Sierra to get past, but Patterson's Subaru was soon back right on his tail. His charge suffered a further setback on the 4th test when a turbocharger failed and he had to stop mid-stage to disconnect an oil feed pipe in case of a fire. There was a strong Group N showroom category on this event, and British Championship regular Julian Porter was expected to set the pace. Leading the Group N category in the Scottish Championship was Andy Kelly in his Escort Cosworth. He admitted to a cautious start. Lacking experience on asphalt rallies, Kelly was losing ground to his Scottish Championship rivals. By the end of the first 8 stages, he'd returned to Dunn's overnight halt, 33rd place overall, and 6th in class. Andrew Wood was another pre-event favourite, and prior to the event was full of confidence after 3 successful test sessions. But the car's new engine went sick here, and last only 2 more stages. Another early retirement was John Brodie, 3rd fastest on this opening stage. The cause of his imminent retirement was already apparent. That's oil smoke from his gearbox. Currently leading the Scottish Championship, Jim Carty is no lover of asphalt rallies, but a strong finish was needed to maintain his title hopes. For someone who didn't like asphalt stages, Carty was giving a good account of himself. Four-wheel drive Metro inspiring confidence in the Forest Rally specialist. At the end of the day's 8 stages, Carty finished the first leg in 16th place. On the other hand, Keith Robertson is an asphalt expert who turned to Forest rallying earlier this year. His pace and style in the Mark II Escort delighted the crowds with the sideways style of the rear-wheel drive machine. His pace in the 20-year-old car was effective, ending the day in 8th place overall. The younger brother of the rally leader, Dom Buckley, Neil, had wheeled out the family Mitsubishi. The younger Buckley might have been rusty, but he was still extremely quick. Leading the two-wheel drives was Welshman Melvin Evans, and he'd finished the day 7th overall. Peter Vassallo had bought the Scottish and championship-winning Subaru Impreza from Brian Lyle. Consistency has always been a Gordon Smith trademark. His steady pace and consistent finishes keep stacking away the points. He was pacing himself, and 18th at the overnight halt would still keep him in contention for championship points. Duncan Jaffrey had arrived at Dunn's in relaxed frame of mind and left the family hotel to its own devices over the weekend. His attacking style wasn't suited to the asphalt stages. He was 24th at the end of the first leg. First time out in his new Mitsubishi, Gary Adam was revelling in its handling compared to his previous Escort Cosworth. Southampton husband and wife team Innes and Alison Marlowe had made the long trek north, but they retired here with complete electrical failure. Another bitter disappointment for Gretna's Stephen Clark in his Peugeot. He managed just one stage more before the Peugeot's gearbox broke. Works Proton driver Jennifer Davis was in her own Peugeot to get more asphalt experience before returning to the Proton team for the Manx Rally. Phil Walker had a miserable event. Early on, the clutch started slipping, and there simply wasn't enough time to replace it. Walker's secret was to pour cans of Coca-Cola into the clutch housing to dry up the oil. Aberdeen's George MacDonald always sets the pace in the 1600cc class in his Nova, and he often embarrasses drivers in much more powerful cars. Not this time. His rally was to be short-lived. His front suspension broke for the 3rd event in a row. he opted for an early retirement. 7th fastest at the end of the first day on this event last year, timer's George Grieve was surprisingly poorly seated and wanted to show that was wrong. He suffered a major setback here, though, when he punctured a tyre and dropped a minute to the leaders. The Geordie driver put the disappointment of the puncture behind him, but worse was to follow. He retired early on Saturday with a blown turbo. Gaylordhead's Stuart McQueen has been quick on all 4 rounds of the championship so far, resulting in 5th overall in the points tables. After 4 stages, he was ahead of Group N rival Andy Kelly and keen to put the pressure on the Ford driver. At the overnight halt, he was satisfied with his afternoon's work, 30th overall, ahead of Gary Adam and Andy Kelly. Commentator Tony Jardine teamed up with TV producer Duncan Barber in their Escort Cosworth. Jardine finished the first leg in 43rd place and was looking forward to driving flat out over roads where speed limits had been suspended. Brian Black from Kirkcaldy gave his ex-Harry Vatanen Ford Works car its first outing since last year. Local driver Monty Pearson should have exercised a little more respect. He somersaulted his car over a dry-stained dike in the notorious Swinton stage last year. The front-wheel drive cars were taking a severe beating over the jumps in the border lanes, and Malton's Jeff Wright was no exception. Stockport's Donna Kelly lost time when he doused the Nova's electrics in the notorious Ford at the end of this stage. Then, in trying to make up lost time, he tried just a shade too hard and lost another 3 minutes when he parked the car astride a wall in the Fogo test. Showing how it should be done, Gary Wilson's rear-wheel drive Opel Manta flies further and lands better than the front-engined, front-wheel drive cars. Adding variety was Tom Hines' Fiat Uno. Sadly, it failed to last the course and departed the fray at the end of the first leg. The service halt at Dunn's Showground gave the drivers the chance to reflect.
The new one they've put in on this leg, the Swinton stage, is very fast. It's maybe a bit faster. I mean, we cleaned 2 stages yesterday. It was a lot twistier, and that's like an average of 70 miles an hour. So this one today, I think it'll be quite cleanable as well. So there is maybe one thing they could maybe do with just a couple of longer ones, like 16 miles or 17 miles, but the rest of the event's really good. No problems with the organisation at all.
I think these stages, I hope, will be a lot better for us with the Metro than the ones were last night. They were very choppy, very changeable, very difficult to read. And with basically 2 runs over there, you know, obviously local advantage was big. I mean, it'll still be big this afternoon, but hopefully not as much.
You know what rallying's like, anything can happen out there. There's still a long way to go. I mean, weather's changed now, so it throws another light on it again. Yeah, anything can happen, but we're certainly happy where we are, and we're thinking of the championship points.
We got off to a bad start in the first stage where we spun the car. The brakes were set up wrong, so unfortunately for us, the brakes all went to the back and spun me around, and then we found ourselves in a situation where we were across the road and I couldn't get the gearbox to select the reverse gear, so as a result of that, we're stuck there for some time, yeah.
Then have you had any other problems during the evening?
Yeah, we went into stage 4. I think it was stage 4. We went in there and the turbo blew on us just about halfway through. So as a result of that, when the turbo blows, it starts to put oil out. So we had to stop, undo a pipe, and then carry on through the stage at a slower speed. And fortunately for us, there was a service after that, so we managed to change the turbo, but we've lost a lot of time, hence the reasons we're so far back.
Yes, at the moment I'm quite happy to be 15th. I'm happy to be here. Situation is, last night was really only 8 stages out of 26 for the rally, so the main event really starts tonight. So hopefully we'll have a good steady run tonight. It's a long way, very long event, and you know, tiredness comes into it. So, and with this changing weather, it's a lottery from whether we should be in tarmac tyres or in wet racing tyres. So.
We're quite happy. We done better yesterday than we did this time last year. This is our second ever tarmac rally, and we seem to be quite happy. Yeah, it's going well, the car's running well. We had a puncture yesterday, it slowed us a bit, but other than that, so far it's been quite good, and we all seem to be quite equal in the Scottish Championship at the moment. So things is just a long day today, obviously. So.
Last year's crowd of more than 30,000 was boosted this year, and there were delays while marshals tried to get people in place. With a 2-minute lead at the end of the first leg, Buckley wasn't going to rest on his laurels. Halfway through the second leg, he doubled his leading margin to almost 4 minutes over Price. He didn't back off, even in the rain, and he extended his lead. Price was still second, but an 80-mile-an-hour spin into a barley field stopped him from trying to attack the rally leader. With less than 30 seconds between them, Davis was trying to put pressure on Price, but it was he who came off second best. It was the notorious jumps which got him in this spectacular spin-off.
All right, mate? Yeah, I'm fine. Start it up, see if we can drive around the field. Push. Okay.
They're on their way, but the trouble's far from over. The landing sheared the front track control arm, and the steering's been damaged too. The end is in sight.
Okay, I'll get out. Wait.
Keith Robertson had worked his way into the lead of the two-wheel drives, but his target of finishing top Scott was fast disappearing. As the rain came down, the four-wheel drives benefited, and he started to slip back. Nigel Waswick thoroughly enjoyed his rally and finished one worse than his seeding. Peter Vassallo was slipping back down the results. His muscles were aching with the strain of hanging on to the 300 horsepower Subaru. He failed to finish. Jim Carty's hopes of maximum points in the Scottish Series were looking good. But this is where it all went wrong for him. He was caught on the wrong tyres in the rain and spun off the road. Now running later in the road than he should have been, he was having to keep a wary eye on inattentive spectators. Gordon Smith's turbo failed and he had to limp through 2 more stages. Maintaining family honour was Neil Buckley, holding down second place in Group N. But it all went wrong just after this Edram stage when the Mitsubishi sideswiped a banking, broke its suspension. Carty's troubles only served to goad Patterson into even greater efforts. It wouldn't do to try too hard. The cause of Patterson's locking rear brakes was found to be a cracked front disc. So, with his brakes repaired, Patterson's Subaru was back on full song and closing in on the battle for second place. The Eggleston brothers were creating sparks in their front-wheel drive Astra and finished 8th overall. Despite his clutch problems, Phil Walker's Mazda was still going well. Duncan Jaffrey's pace had taken him well into the top 20 places overall, and the top 10 position beckoned. Just when things were looking good for Jaffrey, the greasy conditions caught him out, and he plunged off the road into a field. Stuart McQueen was continuing to hold off the other Scottish Group N front-runners, but only just. So, going into the final stage in the early hours of Sunday morning, Louise Aiken-Walker demonstrates just how treacherous the conditions had become. Even with the finish in sight, Buckley refused to relax his grip on the rally lead. He'd scored 23 fastest times in 26 stages. John Price did well, but had to settle for runner-up position. Victory in the two-wheel drive class went to Keith Robertson, who finished an incredible 7th overall. And proving that you should never give up, Jimmy Patterson came back from a disastrous start to score maximum points with a thoroughly deserved 3rd overall. Just when it looked as though McQueen would pull off a Group N points win, he sideswiped one of the straw bales on a chicane. Gordon Smith set about recovering lost time. His front end shows how hard he tried, and finished 21st. Despite his slipping clutch, Phil Walker still managed to drive quick enough to spin and clout a gatepost, and he finished 18th. Duncan Jeffrey's car shows the result of his excursion when he went harvesting in a potato field, and a lowly 33rd overall. So, finishing an incredible 11 minutes ahead, Dom Buckley celebrated with tyre shredding demonstration donuts. How the championship looks with 3 rounds to go.